part two, picking up where we left off last time. So let's see. Okay. So number 14 is going to be Ocean Machine, 1997. Although most of it was written well before that. So yeah, Ocean Machine. That's a blast from the past. Really Devin's first foray into the world of abstract music, I suppose. Let's see how to describe this one. I don't know. It's the best of like young Devin, I would say. Like this sort of, this is the same Devin that brought us Heavy's Really Everything and Punky Brewster and City and all that. It's before the whole Infinity era chaos and everything that kind of changed everything from then on. But Ocean Machine is different than Heavy Is a Really Heavy Thing, and it's different from Punky Brewster, and it's different from City. Out of those four, Ocean Machine kind of stands on its own than those three, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, it's this refreshing, like, I don't know, I don't know, I really like it. I mean, I think it's cool that it's like, Ocean Machine, like the human body is an ocean machine, and we're all the ocean, but there's this other ocean thing, and it's like this abstract concept, but it's done in only a way that young Devin could do, that like he would overcomplicate it if he made it today. So there was something about it at that time. I don't know, and it's like, and just the concept of it is simple, but also not as simple, like, I don't know, I think it has a real charm to it. So my top three favorite songs, you know what, even to this day, I guess I'm going to have to go with the first three, Seventh Wave, Life, and Night. Though the last four are really good as well, from Funeral all the way through Thing Beyond Things. But I just love the different stages of the album and how every song progresses the story and everything. It's really, I mean, yeah. Not counting Punky Brewster, it's really his first attempt at a concept album, so bravo. Alright, number 13. Now here's the other one that I said would surprise you. The first one being Infinity, that I didn't put it higher on the list, and then I said there's one that you're going to be surprised that I put it so high on the list. Because the one I'm about to say you would expect to be like in last place or close to last place, because it would be, well, I don't want to give spoilers, but why don't you take a moment to think about what it might be. Alright, so this one is actually Devin's least favorite album of his. It's Physicist. Yeah, a lot of you probably forgot about that one. It didn't win any awards or anything. It's not his most popular work. So Physicist is from 2000, and there's a whole story behind that. I mean, it's like a direct follow-up to Infinity, kind of, but it goes in a very different direction. And I mean, the whole thing is an apology, essentially, and it's like, I mean, it's what I like about it. What I like, because here I am putting Physicist above, Infinity, and above Ocean Machine, and above Key, and Addicted, and, Synkestra, and all these other really good ones. The thing with Physicist is, that's the only album that he ever attempted that. It's like, I get it, it's sort of like lazily done, it's unenthusiastic at times, it's like phoned in and whatever, but in a way it's also the rawest of the full-length Devin Townsend albums, because, like, like he didn't even bother to put a lot of these elements. I mean, it still sounds pretty good because it's essentially Strapping Young Lad, and they're very talented musicians and everything. So as far as the instrumentation goes, it's good. but I mean, as far as like Devin's actual contributions to the songs, it's not nearly to the same level as just about everything else that he does is. And that's just because at the time, obviously, because of all the, the depression and all that stuff, it's just like he didn't really have the motivation to do that. And so it's just like, well, I have to make like an apology album and stuff like that. And so I just find it interesting and everything. And like, if you listen to the podcast episode he does about it on the Devin Townsend podcast, I believe it's episode 4, he talks all about that. And it's like there's just this relentless speed through it all. And that's one thing, particularly in the song Namaste, where it's like it's the first song of the album, so you're off already. You're taking off. You're on this rocket ship going through the gray matter and everything. But it's and like with the song Namaste, I was like, wow, like the first time I heard it and it starts off the album and everything, I was like, well, this is like way too hard. This is too heavy to be like, like depression or anything. This is like strapping young lad basically, And some of the songs on Physicist are like kind of like some of the songs on City in a way, But then I was thinking like, well, it's because there is passion here, He wants it to be over. It's like just getting through it, just going as fast as he can because he doesn't want to spend too much time on this, So, and I just find it interesting. It's like the song. I mean, my 3 favorite songs, I'll go ahead and say it, Namaste, Material, and, oh boy, Between Jupiter and Planet Rain. Can I do both? Yeah, we'll do both. And then, so, I mean, the very first song, we already started off the chorus, all life, it never goes away, you never will betray. When words have gone away, remember, namaste. Material, these are the days. Let them roll as they roll, and be all you are, because you're beautiful, material. And then here's that truth again, like as the song Truth from Infinity. It all makes sense if you listen to the podcast about these, but I don't know. The reason I put it so high on the list is just because it has an effect for me that is unique to that album. And certainly these top 12 are much better, but still, there's a time and a place for Physicist, I would say. It's not something that you should just sweep under the rug and pretend it never happened or anything. Okay, number 12, Transcendence. So I know this is a lot of people's favorite, so, sorry that it didn't make the top 5 or the top 10 or anything, but I just think these top 11 are just that good. But, Transcendence, what can I say about it? It's the last album from the Devin Townsend Project series, which was either 7 or 8 albums. I think it's 7 if you don't include Casualties of Cool, which I'm not, because that's like, that's its whole other thing. So, yeah, Transcendence, I would say is like laid the groundwork for Empath. I think Transcendence, because the way I see it, this isn't confirmed or anything, but the way I see it, the Devin Townsend Project is like a journey through the different stages of life. Key being like infancy, childhood, addicted being like into adolescence, and then deconstruction being like young adulthood, and then Ghost being like, middle, like maybe like 30s, 30s, and then Epicloud is after that, like into like 40, and then I don't know where Ziltoid factors into all that. Dark Matters and Sky Blue, I guess those are standalones, and then Transcendence is like, caught up to the present. And then Empath is, as he described it, the transition between the Devin Townsend Project and what comes next. So, that's exciting. Kind of like how Mechina does like little songs like Andromeda and I think Realm Breaker and like a few like between albums, to sort of like it's sort of like because each album is like just story. It's just relentless story. So it's like you have to have these songs that tie them together. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's kind of what Empath is, so I'm excited to see where he goes from here. But that we're getting off topic here. So Transcendence, um, I like it. I really like it. I don't know how to describe it. It's an intense spiritual journey, I guess, of sorts, in a really weird way. That only Devin could do, I think. Um, but uh, I think it's kind of intentionally watered down at times, to where I don't know. There's a few songs on there that I just feel like were purposefully held back. Yeah. Anyway, my favorite songs from Transcendence, well, Truth, unless, if I already said Truth for Infinity, I don't know, whatever, I won't count that one, but I really love it, and I like it better than the Infinity version. Um, but Stormbending, oh, Failure, really like that one. Offer Your Light, I think I remember liking. And I'll go with Transdermal Celebration. Alright. Number 11. Z Squared, Dark Matters. Oh, wait, I haven't been putting the years. Physicist 2000, Transcendence 2016, I think. 2016, I'm pretty sure. Number 11, Dark Matter. Z Squared, Dark Matters, 2014. So, Ziltoid's back. Well, wait a minute. Did we even do the first? No, I don't think we did. So, how do I explain this one then without explaining the first one? Ooh, boy. Well, that's challenging. This one's all over the place. I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, so. Z Squared, Dark Matters. Well, I think the inspiration, Z Squared, is a reference to Alien, which I don't even think we talked about yet. So, again, wow. Well, it has March of the Poozers, so that's probably how most people know it. But there's so much with this one. So much. I'm overwhelmed. It'd be one thing if I was like explaining these chronologically, they'd make more sense then. But for this to be the first one of its kind that we're dissecting here, I don't even know where to begin. But so if you can believe it or not that there's actually 10 albums that I like better than this one, that's pretty astonishing given just the sheer awe in this one. But yeah, these top 10, these top 10 will like change your life once you hear them, basically, I think. Yeah, alright, anyway, my top songs from them, or from this one. It's been a while since I've listened to it in its entirety, so I'm not sure I remember exactly all of them, but let me think here. I think Death Ray and Earth, I think those were two, and the last ones, Ziltoid Goes Home, or I think it was Through the Wormhole, actually. I'm not sure. And this one, it's been a while for me, but March of the Poozers I really like, and yeah, those other ones. But it's really complex. You just got to listen to it, but listen to the first Ziltoid album first. All right, moving on. Okay, top 10. We're getting serious. Number 10, Accelerated Evolution. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this existed at a very interesting time, too, because it's sandwiched between Terria and Alien. And what opposite ends of the spectrum those are. So this kind of taps into both of those energies. Well, the alien's kind of a standalone thing. That never mind that. I just mean like, and this was side by side with the Strapping Young Lad self-titled album as well. Um, but I just think it's interesting the evolution from Infinity to Physicist to Terria and to Accelerated Evolution, because Infinity's mania and all this stuff, chaos, and then Physicist is the crash from all that, the come down, the depression and everything, and then Terria is getting past that and acceptance and kind of like taking that deep breath in, and then Accelerated Evolution is like, okay, I'm ready now. Let's go. Let's do something else, but let's do it right this time, So it's like kind of an alternate version of Infinity, sort of the way I see it, but not at all, and just I don't know. But this is Devin at his best in a lot of ways, and like I said, the time period that it existed in was before Alien. And if you listen to the Devin Townsend podcast or even interviews or anything, you know that Infinity and Alien are the two albums that really changed him the most. So there's the pre-Infinity stuff, which is by his definition immature and just naive and all that. And then there's the between Infinity and Alien, where like he thinks like there's all these revelations and everything, but there's still that sort of traces of that naivety and that sort of just lightheartedness. And then after Alien, then it just really, it just really clicked into place there, and it became like, okay, all right, I don't know, but so this was like the further, like the most advanced thing before Alien, so it's like the very best of pre-Alien Devin, if that makes sense. But I really love this album, and the sound that it has is like Terria, but it like has more layers to it, and it has more energy, and it's like, I don't know, I love Accelerated Evolution. It's such a, I don't know, it's really cool. It's interesting. See, once we get into these higher ones, it's hard to find words for it, because it's like it's music, you gotta experience it. But yeah, so my top 3 favorite songs: Depth Charge for sure, Storm, and let's see. So between Deadhead or Traveler, I guess I'll give it to Deadhead. Um, but yeah, so yeah, that's Accelerated Evolution, 2003. Okay, number 9, Terria, 2001. I love Accelerated Evolution. I love Terria just a little bit more. For me, this is like the Rock and Roller Coaster Tower of Terror thing from the Hollywood Studios videos all over again, where I did like 3 or 4 takes of it, and each take they switched. Because now in my mind, I'm kind of like, maybe Accelerated Evolution is a little bit better than Terria. I'm not sure. These two kind of leapfrog in my mind. So at the time of writing this, I put Accelerated Evolution as number 10 and Terria as number 9. But they're pretty much tied. It depends on the day, I guess. But I don't believe in having ties on things like that. I think it's a pretty cheap move. So I kind of forced myself to put one above the other, and that's just kind of the order that I came up with. But they're pretty much tied, and like I said, it depends on the day. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, Terry is way better, obviously, and then other times it'll be like, no, Accelerated Evolution is actually like, whatever. But in any case, Terria is, like I said, it's the follow up to Physicist, the follow up to the sort of like bleak Depression era things where it's like, okay, well, you know, like, what now? You know, like it's this like acceptance thing, and it's just this really weird. Uh, as he described it, it's like a medicated blur of just like, you know, just like warm and coziness, but also not. And it's, I mean, I don't know. Tyria, I mean, put in simple terms, it was inspired by a drive across Canada and nature, you know? And that's ultimately what it's about. And it's up to you to determine how much of that is figurative language and metaphors for other things and all that stuff. But, you know, if you want to take it at face value, it's about nature, you know? So, hey, what's better than that, right? You know, so Terria, you know, terrain, you know, whatever. It's all in that vein. Yeah. So my favorite songs from Terria. It's a tough one. I really like Mountain, Earth Day, Deep Peace. I know it's only supposed to be three, but I'm just trying to think. Tiny Tears is really good. Could I do all four? I guess. All right, we'll try it. Okay. Number 8, Casualties of Cool, 2013, I believe. So this is technically a standalone thing, but I do still consider it a Devin Townsend album just because it's like it's his thing basically. He is half of the band. So this is him and Che Dorwall, I think, something like that, who was featured on Key and I think one other one, I'm not sure. Definitely at least Key, up to that point. And then did the Impasse tour and everything. I don't know what to say. He described it as haunted country music. I think country is a bit strong of a word. I would say it's more like blues or whatever. And it's like the thing is, the album that this is a genre that I usually couldn't care less about. All that sort of music is like not something that I would like ever listen to, basically. And not because there's like anything wrong with it or anything. It's just like it's kind of boring to me usually. But this is just such an exception to everything. I did not expect to like this when I put it on, and I listened to the deluxe edition, so it's like 2.5 hours. And so I was like, oh boy, I'm going to sit through 2.5 hours of this, and I might like, maybe 2 songs will be okay out of these. And like immediately, this album, I would say even more so than Ghost in a weird way, because Ghost is an ambient album and everything, but this one has a special kind of property where it just always makes me sleepy. It makes me like cozy, and just relaxed. It has like a sedative effect, and it's really weird. In fact, I fell asleep the first 3 times I tried to listen to the album. The first one I fell asleep in like 10 minutes, and I woke up and it was like the second to last song. And I was like, oh wow, I wasn't even tired when I put this on. Like, what happened? And so the second time I fell asleep again. I made it a little longer, but still, it's like, okay, And the third time I fell asleep, I think it was toward the end, but still, it took me 4 times to get through the whole album just because, like, I don't know, I'm not used to Devin Townsend putting me to sleep, He's just not that kind of guy. He's the heavy Debbie, a heavy metal man. But, yeah, it's just this weird, I don't know, I gotta give it credit. It sounds really good. And it's really good. So surprisingly, that's the most surprising one for me personally, because I did not think I was gonna like it, but I do. All right. Number 7, City. So now we're on the opposite end of the spectrum. The infamous City. If you're at all familiar with Devin Townsend, you're probably familiar with Strapping Young Lad, and if you're at all familiar with Strapping Young Lad, then you no doubt know the infamous City. The one that everything got compared to after that. My top songs from Casualties of Cool. I'm going to confess, I don't really remember the names to most of those songs. I'm just like, the one that goes, whatever, so I'm not going to embarrass myself with that. But I have listened to them all, rest assured. Number 7, City, from 1997. I don't... We're close enough to number 1 that I kind of just want to get all these done in this one thing here. But, well, maybe not. I don't know. But City, I mean... City is... If you want to take a step back and not treat this as a Devin Townsend album, and just treat it as a heavy metal album, a extreme metal, symphonic metal, I mean, whatever the terminology is, just for whatever its subgenre is, judge it by that. Maybe you've never even heard of Strapping Young Lad, and you just like, this is the one to start with, by the way, I would say, for Strapping Young Lad at least. But it's just a good point of entry in general. I would say for Strapping Young Lad, start with City, and for Devin Townsend, start with Ocean Machine, I guess. But, I mean, there's a lot of things about it that you just can't top. Like, it's an expert in what it does, The specific, like, the energy that album radiates, the specific frequency that it's on, is just, it's perfect. And that's a word I don't think I've used yet in any of these albums up till now, so that's how you know we're getting close to the top. It's perfect at what it does. I really can't think of any notes or criticism or anything that they could have done better. It's exactly what I believe that they were going for, as far as thrash metal or as far as extreme metal or heavy metal or whatever. I mean, there's really no topping it, the way I see it. It's the king of its genre, and everything else is, it's its own niche thing, and it gets more abstract and everything. But City cuts to the sandwich, and it never cuts away. It's heavy metal, and it's just good old-fashioned, but it's not like Heavy Is Really Everything, for example, which is also that, but it's like silly and lighthearted. City is very passionate and sincere. Obviously, it's before Infinity and all that, but it's still like, I don't know, but it's just perfect in what it does. My favorite song from that album, and I'll go ahead and say this, it's my favorite Strapping Young Lad song, and probably one of my top favorite Devin Townsend songs, is Detox. And if you just listen to that one song, I think you'll get a feel for exactly what I mean. Because just in that one song is exemplified everything I'm talking about. That song can't possibly be any better. And if it was any different, it wouldn't be what it was, and therefore it wouldn't be as great. That song, I mean, that's a 10 out of 10 for me, which is very hard to get. But, I mean, there's just no... I've talked about it long enough. I think you get it. So some other songs I like from City, some other highlights, rather. Let's go with... Oh, boy. Let's go with Spirituality, AAA. Any others? Let's see, City. Yeah, that's it. That's good. Alright, to continue, what are we at? 29? We'll see. We'll see if it cuts me off. Can I spend a half hour on the top 6, though? That's the question. That would be like 5 minutes each. Well, there's no way I'm gonna finish this. All right, whatever. I'll do part 3, I guess. But there we go. That's up to. There we go. All right. See you for part 3, everybody.